All right, so this is what we've done so far. Very soon, very shortly, I'm going to ask you to do this on your own. So it's important that you know how to do everything from the measuring at the top all the way through this median line, which is the imaginary line that goes through the body, right? So know where that chin is, know how to mark the middle or find the center of that median line. And I'm going to go over all of that again. You should be working right now to finish each one of these 4 figures. Now, finishing doesn't mean that you have the whole body drawn, but that you have the whole body drawn and you've made it look natural. If it's shorter than this bottom line, if your feet aren't down here, you've got to edit that. If you've drawn the legs where the feet are up here somewhere, or the body is too small compared to this measurement, you need to not redo, but edit that figure so it goes from the top all the way down to where the heel is on this baseline. Okay? You've got to edit that. I'm going to be going through all 4 of these subjects, these figures, in class today. So if you missed it, you get to see that again. All right. But if you have all 4 of these, that does not mean that you get to take today off. You need to make sure that your figures look natural. That's what you're trying to improve on today. Okay. Now, there's lots of different versions of this. There's a huge range of possible natural looking solutions. All of these can look different and still look natural. So I'm going to begin and show you from the beginning. I have 4 lines up here for my 4 figures. It's a little bit different setup. I'm not going to start with the middle thing that we measure. I'm just going to start on one of these. But my first step is going to be to try to find the middle between here, the top, and here, the baseline. Make sure you are working on your figures or following along with me. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to guess where the middle is. Once I've guessed, I need to measure that with my pencil, the tip of my pencil at the middle, my thumbnail at the baseline. This is relative to your perspective, so you don't want your head to move around too much. You want to look from the same perspective every time. And then once I move my thumbnail up to this line right here, when I move my thumbnail here, the tip of my pencil should be exactly on this line. So I move my thumbnail up. It's not directly on that line, so I need to move my middle mark down half of that amount. So I guess again. I measure again. I move my thumb up to the baseline again. I move my thumbnail up to the middle mark, and I'm very, very, very close. So I would say I just need to thicken that up or move it down just a little bit more and quickly measure again. Move my thumbnail to the middle mark. There we go. So now I get rid of my old stuff that's not good. Next, I need to break this next half in half again. This will eventually give me 4 equal sections. Once I get it correctly onto the paper, need to move down a little bit. Measure again. This process seems very meticulous, and it is, but I need to make sure it's right before I go on. So I've got my mark correct there. So now before I move the pencil in my hand, I need to move up here and mark this section. Get rid of the one that's not correct. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal sections. I need 8. So I break this up one more time. Too high, so I'll move that down. Measure one more time just to make sure I'm correct. That small adjustment is all I needed to make sure that these are correct. Once I've got that figured out, I'm not going to let the pencil move in my hand. I'm just going to come up here and mark at every single section. To save time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my line over. That way I don't have to measure anymore. Those of you that came in a little bit late, I'm reviewing how to do the process of drawing these figures, how to measure everything from the beginning. You should be working on improving your figures. If you have all 4 of them done, that's awesome. Now make them look better. If you do not, if you're missing one, it's your job to catch up. Okay, so now I have 8 equal sections on all of those lines right there. First step is the head. It's an egg shape. I want the right side to mirror the left side. So when I get done over here, I'm going to try to copy that. And, you know, I always go back and forth. If I like the left side more than I like the right side, then I'll mirror that. The heads are exactly the same, egg shape. Okay, halfway down in the next section is that notch for the collarbones. It's exactly the same on the male and female. The male neck comes down and points towards that notch. The females does as well. And we know that if it is more narrow, it will seem more dainty and feminine. Does that mean that the male can't have a neck that's that thin? Absolutely, the male can. That's absolutely fine. Okay, big difference here is the male figure at the shoulders is the widest it's going to be. So we take one head and we mark where that shoulder is on his left. Then we come over here and we do that on the right. For the female, we take the head width and we do the same. At that notch to the left, at this notch to the right, that's where her shoulders are going to be. The shoulder is kind of an inverted teardrop shape for the male and female. The size might be somewhat different. The bulkiness, I'll say. And then those shoulders are going to go up to the neck. Whatever goes through this side needs to look like it would connect here. My professor in college would make us draw through very lightly and then follow it. So that's another technique that you could do, is just draw the curve through one shoulder to the other and then darken slightly. You can, I didn't draw the shoulders first on the female, but that's not for any real reason. The pectoral muscles on the male figure are going to come in. They come from the armpit here, down below that second line. Then they kind of get square. You want to leave a gap between them. We have that median line here, so it might hide that a little bit. Then it pays to know where the ribs are going to be. They're going to kind of curve down like this. They would go up in front like that. On the female, this is going to be a little bit more dainty. Still there, though. We'll address the chest on the female later. Okay, next, I want to go ahead and draw the hips for the male. They're not going to be as wide as the shoulders. And if you can think of like Superman's costume, those blouse, those I don't know, just whatever he wears down here, looks like underwear, I guess. It's gonna come up, and you just need to make sure that when you draw this, it's not going to be wider than the shoulders. Now this is different on the female. Here's our belly button area for the female. Here it is for the male. We're going to go halfway up for the female, and we're going to draw a dot right there. That's not the belly button. Remember that. But there's this X. Instead of a V, she's an X. It's kind of where that hourglass figure saying comes from. It's far more balanced. Center of gravity is lower. So the hips, this thing that I drew out here, going to come out wider than the shoulders. Use that X to guide you. Back up to the ribs for the male. We're going to come down, follow that bony cage. Then we have this muscle group here, and that comes down and sits on the hips. Let's do that for the female. The breasts are going to sit on this bony cage. The chest is still there. There's pectoral muscles there. This is on top. And remember what we said there is we need to have weight. This is different for every person. Then we're going to follow this cage, just like we did on the male figure. We're going to come down, and this is going to sit on the hips. Come down here to the knee line. Remember what we said? This whole 8-head Canon system can really elongate the legs if you're not careful. One of the ways that we make this better is by drawing the knees separately from the thigh. We need to have this space down here that says, well, there's this section that's just the knee, and then we connect to the thigh. Hamstring muscle comes in and tapers down to the knee. Got a little bit of extra skin here that allows our knee to bend. And then you have this large muscle group that represents the thigh. Down here, we're going to have the ankle. Kind of goes around the foot. And then the leg tapers a bit. We have this large muscle behind the shin called the calf. The feet, the heel first, kind of looks like a hoof right here. And then you have this wedge shape that comes down. If your toes are facing forward, then it goes below that line. If your heel is out to the side, you have the heel here on the baseline, the arch of the foot, which is like a cave. I like to go up to the top again. This is before the toes, and then the toes. It's a little bitty cave right there as well to separate the toes. Let's do that for the female. Then we'll go up to the arms on the male. Knees, I might have them a little bit more narrow for the female. Got the area with that extra skin and tissue. And my hip is looking kind of bumpy, so I'm going to kind of elongate that so it doesn't seem so weird. Thigh would come in there. Hamstring, same as on the male, just maybe not as bulky or bumpy. Come down to the ankle. Back up to the arms. Male figure on the outside is going to have this tricep. Both figures are actually. And then the elbow comes down to the belly button area. On this side of the arm is the bicep. The wrist goes down to the groin area. It goes around this area, which is the elbow, which is even with the belly button. So this muscle looks like it goes behind the bicep. The female's arms are going to be exactly the same. maybe a little bit more narrow. And, you know, one of the tricks here is to let things look like they go behind the torso. That's okay. Our chest is out front of our arms. So if it looks like you can't see all of the arm, that's fine. Just don't avoid drawing the hands. Now look at this forearm here. This is kind of tilted out. So I'm not going to go down to this line like I did on the other side. This is more straight down. Because this goes out to the side, I'm going to stop it a little bit early, because if your arm is angled, it's going to not reach down as far if it's the same length. Now hands, we're going to simplify. I'm going to draw this part for the palm, this part for the fingers, this wedge, and then these two segments for the thumb. On this side, we're going to draw the thumb first. It's kind of like, instead of a wedge, it's a circle. And then the wedge is behind the thumb. And that's my fingers. Side view of the hand. Side view. For both figures, we want the head from the side to be mostly in front of, or the front of the face will be more to the right if it's facing right. Our female is facing left. It's going to be much the same. Notice how this is a different shape than the egg itself. It's more triangular. It's not a triangle, but the chin comes down to the chin line, top of the head touches the top line. The back of the cranium is back here. And then we want our shoulders. Use these figures over here to kind of guide where that shoulder is going to be. But the shoulder is to the left on the male. The face is on the right of the median line. The shoulder is to the left. The face is to the left on the female side. The shoulder will be to the right of the median line. Then we go down to the hips. We're just going to draw where that leg bone would attach to the pelvis, which is to the right of the median line on the male, to the left on the female, opposite. Our knee is to the left of the median line on the male. It's on the right of the median line for the female. And then our ankle is a little bit even farther back than the knee. The spine. Comes down, curves. This curve helps our bodies not seem so straight up and down, like robotic looking. That's important. Where are the ribs going to sit? Think about where that collarbone is. The hips for the male come down much more flat in the front. Pretty small. For the female, this is much more curved in. The tailbone for the male goes down, whereas for the female, it goes out. I made my leg joint a little bit too high up, I think. So I moved it down. This leg bone comes back. Hopefully this review helped. Okay. So in the previous video, I went through how to measure all these 8 equal sections. And we drew the male and the female figures together, talked about the differences of the proportions and how the male figure is widest at the shoulders and the female figure is widest at the hips. I was able to get through those figures in the one class period, but now we need to finish the side view. If you're talking about the face, the eyes are going to be halfway. And I like to start with the nose. And the chin down to the neck. Go around the collarbone like that. Out to the chest. Follow around the rib cage to the diaphragm area. Down to the belly button. From the side view, it's just kind of like an indentation. This follows around to the groin area. And then the thigh. Down to the knee. I like to draw the kneecap first. And then I have that extra skin above the knee. And then that thigh muscle comes in. This is going to go down to the ankle. Now on the back side, you have this back muscle up here that continues, and it's above the shoulder. On the back, you're going to have a little point there. That would be the shoulder blade. We get thicker as we go down. The buttocks. Then we have the hamstring muscle. Tapers down to the back of the knee, which has a lot of tissue inside, so it kind of bows out there. The calf muscle. This is very visible from the side view. Down to the Achilles tendon and the heel, and so on. I'll draw the arm now. To do so, I'm going to get rid of the skeleton, which we followed for the side view to the up to this point. Now we don't need that. The shoulder comes down like a teardrop shape. Our bicep comes out from that down to the belly button. Backside of the arm to the tricep. It's bulkier at the top. And there I can see my elbow, even with the belly button, or navel as we labeled it. I need my arm to come down to the groin area for the wrist, but I don't want to draw it straight down. I just think that I'd rather see this uncovered up. So I'm going to draw the arm out this way. I just need it to be the right length. And I'm kind of like looking at the arch that it could follow around the elbow. Of course, it wouldn't bend backwards. That would be broken. But you can kind of see how I'm keeping my measurement by drawing that arch out to the wrist. Can't see this part of the belly now because the arm is in front. Palm wedge for the thumb. 2 segments after that. Each segment of each finger has 3 segments. You really want to look at the length of the fingers. This middle one, the bird, is slightly longer, of course. The ring finger is almost as long, and then the pinky is short. When you're doing this, it helps to look at your own hand. And there you go. Female figure is finished. Of course, she's going to appear far more feminine if you give her hair. Her ear would be from the eyebrow all the way down to the base of the nose. Make sure that your hair comes out away from the skull. And if you find that distracting, get rid of it. Eye from the side, something like this. Oh, that's very hard to see at this scale. Okay, now on to the man. Again, the eyes are in the midway point from the top to the bottom of the head. Slight indentation at the bridge of the nose forms the forehead. Upper lip, lower lip. And then the jawline is much more robust on a male. And if you wanted to, you could include an Adam's apple. The back of the head. I have quite a lot of muscle there. Back muscle may start a little bit higher up than the female figure because the male tends to carry more mass. That's not always true, but can be true. And we identify that as more masculine, and take that for what you will. But the back muscles tend to be a little bit more robust on the male figure. And he tends to be flatter in the hip area because the pelvis itself is smaller. Come down to the front area of the chest. Follow the ribs. Have the pectoral muscles here at the top of the chest. And that's the torso. Back of the leg, you're going to have the hamstring down to the back of the knee. Again, a lot of connective tissue in there. So we go out behind the knee. Kneecap is here. Extra skin above the thigh, or above the knee, I mean. And then the thigh muscle up into the torso. Calf muscle tapers down to the ankle. Front of the shin down to the top of the foot. Same thing with the arm. I think I'm going to go back with this one, but I'm still going to get rid of most of this stuff in the torso. You'll notice I left the collarbone on both the male and the female figure. That is something that's visible on the chest, so might as well leave it. I'm going to go back with my arm. What that means is that I need to measure down to the elbow, and my line now for the elbow curves because there's a radius that it has to follow from the shoulder. It could come out towards us as well, but we're not foreshortening today in drawings. So we're going to draw the bicep on this radius. There's the tricep down to the elbow and the bicep. Forearm. Let's do the forearm down. Normally it would come down to the groin line, but because our arm is back, it's going to stop before that. Palm. The thumb is behind the torso, so we can't really see that. Pinky. Ring finger. Kind of going in a reverse order here. The bird. And the index finger. Maybe the thumb would be visible right there. And there you go. Our drawing of the figures is now complete. If you want to draw hair, the hairline for the male and female is very similar. It does help to have the ear in place, eyebrow, top of the ear, base of the nose, bottom of the ear. A little bit of sideburn comes out towards the face and then goes back up to the hairline. This could be a very straight line if you have an edge up or something like that. Oop. So instead of one line, you'd have a series of implied lines for the hairline if he has short hair. That's going to come up and around to the ear. Very short hair. Helmet head. That is it. Much shorter, much quicker to do the side view. Hope that was informative.